Hey, we're Corey and Kyle from Fantasy Football Advice Network and Sellout Crowd. Today we're joined by Paul Scheer, actor and comedian from the hit show The League, among many other shows, of course. Hey, Paul, we want to thank you for coming on and spending time with us to discuss not only fantasy football, but the 988 Oklahoma Mental Health Lifeline. Since Sellout Crowd's inception, we have partnered with 988 because it is something we support and believe in as a vital resource to Oklahomans. As you can imagine, a big portion of our lives are dedicated to fantasy football. So we're going to start off by asking you, do you actually play fantasy football in real life? And if
I
so, did
do.
you play before you are on a hit show about it?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And yes, I do play fantasy football. I'm currently in 3 leagues. I also play fantasy basketball, which is a whole other
Absolutely.
real
That's a
beast.
different beast.
Oh my God, he kicks my ass every week. But yeah, I am in a fantasy football league. I've been in a fantasy football league since actually the show's inception. I didn't do fantasy football before the league started. I didn't really know that much about fantasy football. I just watched football. Um, and so I think one of the things that was really this kind of twist of fate was when they first came to me for the league. They said, we really want you to do it. The show is about fantasy football. And I said, no. And they're like, well, what do you mean? It's like, I just don't. Do you want me to improvise? Like the show is improvised, the league, it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? So we have to have a base knowledge of it. And I was like, I don't know that much about fantasy football. I can't do it. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's easy. And I was like, nope, I won't do it. So I said no. I walked away. And then my buddy Nick Kroll called me up and he's like, are you sure you don't want to do this? It's like, I don't know anything about fantasy football either. He's like, you should just, it's fun. It's not about you don't have to be like quoting stats. I was like, oh, well, oh, he's like, no, it's just about like being in a league. And I called up my agent. I said, let me go back in and let me do this. And I really found out very quickly that like, yes, there's a part of fantasy football that is about stats and players, but the best part of fantasy football is all the shit talking that you give to your friends
Yeah.
and that like 12 or 13 weeks of the year where the emails and texts are flying. I mean, that is the crux of it because when we're in a world where people constantly are like, I played fantasy football for the first time and I won the league, or I've never watched football and I won. I pick people by just their color of their jerseys. It's like, well, what are we doing here? We don't
Exactly.
need to know that much. Like, I guess so. And look, I appreciate. I'm there, and I'm making my lineups. I'm on the waiver wire. I'm doing it all. But I also know that at the end of the day, it's a great deal of luck.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We say that all the time. Fantasy football, probably 90% of it is just luck.
Yes.
Educated guesses and luck. But the trash talk is probably the best part.
Yeah, absolutely. And please tell me you use the double entendres in at least one of those leagues, right?
Oh man, that's the thing. People really want me in their league, and they want me to be like I am. Sadly, I am not like Andre, although I do appreciate some good magic tricks. I will tell you that.
Hey,
But no, I wrestle with my fantasy team's names so much.
Me
I
too.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to figure out what you want to call your own team, and I really I struggle. I struggle way too much with it.
Well, I'm one of those. I try to put a lot of thought into it because I don't want to be that guy that changes it every year.
Yeah.
Well, I
Oh,
want a name that stands the test of time, right?
oh. You see, I'm like I start fresh every year. I feel like I don't want to carry the baggage
The
of
bad
like
juju off and
yeah.
move on.
now, if you win it, you want to keep it the next year, right? Defend the title, defend the honor of the name. So you want something that can kind of carry on.
Okay, I like this. I like this point of view. I mean, are you guys in a keeper league?
Yes,
Yeah,
dynasty leagues, keeper leagues. We're in
That
over 10
is-
leagues apiece. So
Tell me you're not doing auction. Are you guys doing auction drafts?
I don't have any auction. No.
All right, God, please, I can't do that. I'm in a keeper league. One of them is a keeper league, and we seem to forget the rules of our league between the end of the season and the beginning of the new season. So there's always about a month of emails like, no, I thought it was like, no, can I do this? Or wait, what do you mean? Who can I keep? Like, there's always debate. We now have a Google Doc where we keep all of our rules because we make them and we're so passionate about them, but we forget them the minute that the season is over.
And then someone's coming up even on a simple rule later on, and they're like, "Hey, where did we land on this?" It's like, did you
Yes.
miss the whole conversation?
Oh, the
We're
worst.
not going through this again. Okay, so you're in 3 leagues, you said. Is there like
Yes.
a certain player that you went after in your drafts, or one that's like carrying you this season, or one that's
Okay.
totally flopping on you?
Here's what I'll tell you. I made a mistake this year. I made a mistake, which is I went all in on the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, T. Higgins has really been screwing me. So the beginning of the season was a loss factory on all my teams. But I also stashed Jonathan Taylor. And that was
Mhm.
a really good move that no one agreed with me about. And I believed that he was going to come back. I believed that he was going to play. But it was basically that first 5 weeks really kicked my butt. And now I'm taking a look right now at my leagues, and I am right now I am tied for third place in one league, and in the other I'm in third place in all three of my leagues. That's a great spot to be in.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, to come up from really like the first 4 weeks of just first 4 or 5 weeks of just losing every week.
You just got to make the playoffs. Then anything can
Yes.
happen.
Well,
Because
that's
it's
right.
all luck.
And then that's where you really need to be working that waiver wire to a certain degree too, because it's like, at this point, then your players start to, fizzle out, or, whatever. It's like, you don't know. Injuries are now coming in, and I'm still recovering, from DeMar last year, because our league, like many leagues, we're a part of that Bills game last year, which was,
Yes.
that really turned everything into a real free for all. And I was really interested in how, obviously, I'm so glad that he's healthy and everything is good. But I do think it presented fantasy players last year with this insane challenge of how do we figure out like what is earned, what is right. We've never really had a canceled game before.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was
Even through
weird.
COVID, it didn't really happen.
No, right, exactly.
Yep.
COVID, you had a bigger, like IR, like you could basically had like a COVID IR.
Right.
But it seemed like no one got COVID in there. Very few, it feel like.
Yeah,
It
was really lucky that year.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always kind of fascinated, like as you get to the playoffs, like these moves that start to happen, because you can have a really great team, but it like you said, anything can happen given a week. How long your season goes, it starts sitting them. It's like I have one league that this goes way too long. So by the time I'm in my playoffs, everyone's resting for their actual playoffs, and that's not gonna help me.
Yep. That makes it very difficult to know on that. That's like these team or the leagues that do a championship in the last week of the regular season. In actual, those players are resting, so those
Yes.
matchups are the worst.
Oh, they are awful.
Who's got the best bench? Cool.
Well, that's why I think you have to ride the waiver wire. And at this point, like for me, this is where you start stacking your bench these weeks, because we're wait a minute, week 10 right now, or I mean, I'm trying to figure out. I know everyone's
13. Yeah.
13. So it's like, so it's in this moment where I feel like this is where you start to see, okay, I gotta let go of this person here. What am I gonna do? Like, for me, it's like I'm starting to like make some harsher choices. I have some wide receivers that I'm like, all right, hopefully this will pay off. Maybe this will work a little bit later. Reevaluating kickers. By the way, you know what? I'm not a lot of joking about kickers, but you have a solid kicker on your team. It helps. You need a couple points. I've lost and won by 1 or 2 points. The blowouts are a lot less rare, or a lot more rare, I should say.
Corey,
so you got to find them.
Corey and myself are very much traditionalists when it comes to fantasy football, with the having to have a defense, having to have a kicker. We have a lot of buddies in the fantasy football community who like to kind of shuck those to the side these days. And we're like, no, you got to have them.
They're
like
different.
that's part of it.
I like I have one league that's just out of control with all it's basically like we have a flex. I'm looking at it right now. We have a flex, and then we have like a super flex, which is just you can basically put your tight end and a QB. So we have like 2 flex positions, and we have an IDP position. Like and that's a big league. That's like a 14-team league.
Oh my God.
And but so it's like you really are like everyone carrying 2 quarterbacks. I like a simpler,
Yeah.
like down and dirty version of it where it's like, no, you got one quarterback, you got like, it's like just keep one flex.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's not make it too crazy.
I don't mind adding a second flex, but not the super flex.
Right.
We're not fans of the super flex
I don't
thing.
like I don't like a 2 QB league. I don't want to. Because again, it's like it's so interesting because every year people are like, oh, don't like get a QB for like. There's an argument to me get like Patrick Mahomes in like the first or second round. It's like same way for like Jalen Hurts, but like people are like, well, don't do that, don't do it. And it's like it's so interesting because the way that the NFL is right now, it's sometimes more reliable. Like a guy, like one of those guys, again, Joe Burrow. Like you think, oh, this is going to be great, but you just don't know. It's like you never really know. I don't prescribe to like who can be the best. I just know like you got to kind of just chase who's going to be most consistent for your team too. But once you have 2 in there, it's 2 QBs. It kills me.
Well, there's a part of that too of like I said, you're kind of guessing. You don't know how everyone's actually going to do on the season. So a little bit of fandom kind of comes into play there. Who do I just want to watch and cheer for too? So sometimes
yeah.
Well,
yeah. I mean, that's the truth too. It's like it makes it more like I don't want to be watching Red Zone all the time. But the truth is like what teams do you watch? What are your teams? And for me, I think it's hard. That it's in football it's harder because I have to be I have to pick who I think is going to get me the most points on the board. And basketball, I could do a lot more fandom. I could be like, well, I like this guy over. Like, I'm not a big Luca fan, but I'm like, so I won't have to pick him up. If I can get somebody like equal to Luca, I'll be okay. But like, but if I will take somebody I don't like on fantasy football because I'm like, I need those points. I can't be giving up points.
I was gonna say we're obviously Cowboys fans, but don't think that we don't have Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown on our teams. We need points.
Yeah, you do. I mean, Jalen Hurts is amazing. I mean, that Super Bowl last year was awesome. Like I really love that, and it was like, and what do you all think of? I mean, it's not fantasy, but like this running out the clock, like that really bummed me. I mean, and I know like I feel like there's a lot of armchair Super Bowl watchers, or I don't know. You can't say armchair quarterback, whatever it is. A lot of people only watch one football game a year, right?
Yep.
They have, oh, well, we should change this. We should change this. But I do feel like as somebody who watches a lot of football, that sucked. Like that was to me, like sometimes the ends of Super Bowls are the least engaging things. It's like, oh, you can just run the clock out here. You can't, because Jalen Hurts could have done something there if he actually had that time on the board. And just don't understand why the NFL lets that happen. It was like my kids were like just like looking at me. It's like they're just running out the clock. I'm like, yeah, like that's sports. Enjoy it, kids. That's what.
But on the flip side, Kansas City's just like that's what we got to do to win a Super
Bowl.
I know.
And I love Kansas City too. I just love Jalen Hurts. I like.
Yeah.
That's like that. Truly are. Those are like my 2. I mean, it's silly to say because they're both in Super Bowl, but like I love watching both of those teams. They're just fun teams to watch.
Yep.
Before we kind of move on here real quick, I have to ask you if you had to pick one, who is your favorite NFL team?
All right, so this is an interesting question. I grew up a Jets fan, but I know there's so much turmoil and for the Jets fan. All year, everyone's like, you got Aaron Rodgers. Are you excited? And I was like, no, I'm not excited. Something dramatic is going to happen. I was like, that field is going to blow up. Everyone's going to get injured. Something awful is going to happen. And little did I know, 5 plays into the first game of the season, Aaron Rodgers is out for the whole season. I think that is the most Jets thing to happen. And so, I watch the Jets, but I've given up my hope of the Jets. I'm a New Yorker. That's why I'm a Jets fan. But when I moved out to LA, I was like, well, we'll be a Rams fan or a Chargers fan. Like, like we try to figure it out. But right now, my family we're Chiefs fans. We have become Chiefs fans. It's like we can all agree that we like the Chiefs. And my son and I are secretly Eagles fans, but my wife has like a bad association with Philadelphia, so she doesn't like us to be Eagles fans. So we just we're down low Eagles fans, but we also are big Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't go down that bad.
We can cut that whole Eagles part out, right?
So I do want to ask you before we wrap this up. Speaking of being a Jets fan, you're in town helping with mental health. Oklahoma.
You think did I call 998 after Aaron Rodgers got into the first
Right.
yeah, I did. I was confused. I was conflicted. I needed help. I didn't know where to begin, and that's why 988 is important.
I kind of did want to touch on, though, there's always kind of been this stigma around men talking about their mental health,
right?
And especially in sports and things, and it's becoming more and more relevant. You're in town helping with 988. How does it make you feel knowing you're helping promote a resource for men to be able to seek help and resources for mental health? How does that make you feel?
I mean, it makes me feel really good. I think that I would be lying, and I think most people that we all know would be lying if we didn't say that there's been moments where we have felt despair, right? Or just felt like it doesn't have to be anything more than just like, I need someone to talk to, right?
Yeah.
I need to know where to even begin. And if you are so lucky to never have experienced that, I think you can say that you've definitely seen your friend or family member go through that, right? And this idea of like therapy, what's therapy? You're like, oh wait, I don't know about that, right? It seems like, well, how do I even start that? Where do I go? You can't just like go like, well, go to therapy. It's not like go to Target, right? And I think what I love about 988 is it's 24/7. It is something that you can call or text, and it's in the palm of your hand. And it's about really having someone to talk to. And they will point you in a direction, and they will help you find the help that you need, because everybody's help is going to be different. And it doesn't have to be about having thoughts that are, it's a mental health lifeline, not a suicide crisis hotline. And I think that's a very big difference. And you don't have to be in crisis. You can just be in a moment of just darkness. We all, and I think it's important. I think I'm so happy to see players talk about this. I'm a Clippers fan in basketball, and Paul George talked about what he was going through in the bubble, right? It's COVID. He's in Orlando, which is a tough spot to be even without COVID. And you're locked in a Disney hotel. And just talking about like just this anxiety that you feel. Like anxiety is real. Going to a meeting, going into a thing, going up for a job, whatever it is. So I think it's important that mental health is not a sign of weakness. And I think that's something that we just have to keep on making sure that we just reiterate. And I think that we are, as much as we shit talk with each other in fantasy football, I think that support group that we have there, that group that we have, it's it's like everyone in that group would want you to be doing your best. Unless they're playing you that week. And then besides
that, all is fair in love in fantasy football.
Yeah. If that's the case, then wait till Tuesday to call.
Right. Get help after you set your lineup. Once you can't once your lineup is locked. At 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Well, Paul, we really do appreciate you being here helping out with 988. Again, Sellout Crowd is a very proud sponsor and happy to support 988. And we're happy to have you here helping us, as we do believe it's a great resource for Oklahomans for sure.
Well, I'm excited to be here. And just real quick, I know your fans and listeners know, but where are you guys sitting in the standings right now?
It's kind of half and half, but as in like half of them I'm kind of at the top in the first one or two, and then the other ones I'm still right on that playoff bubble.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so still really fighting for
How
getting
many leagues are you in? Half and half. You're saying half and half. I feel like you
Yeah.
got like 10 leagues going on.
11.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. How do you have
And-
time for this interview?
Well, we cut back from last year, and so
Okay.
we're only in like 10 and 11.
I thought I cut back. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, this is that. I thought 3 was like more than enough. Oh wow. 11. Holy cow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Good luck, guys.
Thanks. You too. Good luck.